Hi, welcome. Okay, all the panelists in the panel. My name is Anita. I'm going to be the moderator of this lovely panel and discussion. It's interesting being in a high... Anyways, I am part of... this is a very... will be a very nice and improvised discussion, which I will appreciate and I hope our panelists appreciate. And what else should I say? I am a participatory designer, architect and interaction designer. Usually it goes with a lot of titles, but that's for now. I'm also part of the incubator program at STPLN. So thank you STPLN for having us, and thank you Aks Cultural Hub for organizing. Creative Hub. Yes. This will be voice recorded, as I so yes. So you'll be able to hear our lovely voices forever and ever and ever, however times you want. And I have with me Kajena Kikhoff. Did I say correctly?
No, but it's fine. I don't even pronounce it correctly.
How is it?
I say Kirchhoff.
Kirchhoff.
Yes, but that's not pronounced correctly either. So
there you are, identity crisis. And Zeynep Ünsal.
Yeah, right.
Jenny Krepper, Martin Gül, and Abbas. Thank you. And Abbas Beatty. Okay, and I will ask you to introduce yourselves, starting from maybe right to left.
Yeah,
Zeynep.
sure. I'm Zeynep. I'm co-founder of Aks Creative Hub, Ankara Aks, and I'm an architect. I mentioned about myself before the lunch, so maybe I can skip quickly and you can mention about yourself.
yeah, sure. Kajena, and I'm the co-founder of Kontra Arkitektur, which is a architecture group based here in Malmö. We work mostly with small-scale design, participatory design, and kind of urban architecture. A lot of very experimental things where we get to involve people and invite them to try out new things and feel like they have some power in their neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another architect. I have a background in architecture, but I have not worked as an architect for, well, I would say never. And now I have the fluffy title, Head of Transformation. I don't even know where to start whenever I say that. But I work for EIT Culture and Creativity, and my role is to showcase and promote the importance of culture and creativity and its role in transforming societies.
Thanks. Hello everybody, my name is Martin. Very nice to meet you. I live here in Malmö since December, so I'm fairly new in the city. I love that. My background is not in architecture. I'm from the industry with 15 years in product development and business development. But then I've been doing a lot of leadership and transformational work and digitalization in the public sector as well. So I sort of see myself as crossing boundaries and trying to connect these worlds. And right now I'm part of a group that's trying to organize around Ödet, which is a community hub here in Malmö.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Hi, I'm Abbas. I am from Helsingborg, 1 hour less away from here. I'm also originally from Lebanon. I am also educated as an architect, but never worked as an architect. And that actually what makes me sit here today, because I switched from architecture to do more participatory work. So I'm a designer and a strategist and also like a curator, and work a lot with public space, placemaking, and creativity and culture.
Thank you. I love a panel that shifted from architecture, mostly, and of course other. Sorry, but also, I mean, we have different people from different backgrounds. We have different also. I come from Greece, and our event and this whole thing, the reason that you're here today and tomorrow are from Turkey, and you have Malmö and everything. So it's going to be an interesting discussion about how do we do participatory design in urban spaces in different contexts. And I'll go with my first question. So why should we do participatory design in public spaces? So why? Yeah, I know that's a hard question. I ask myself every day. But why should we do it now, as in our times? Maybe more, maybe less than in the past. And why? I don't know. What's the pros? What's the pros? What's the cons? Is it that we do have to do participatory design all the times? And yeah, what do you think? Or do you also, from your experience, it's a very big question. Do you have examples that you can tell us how they worked, how they didn't work? Who wants to?
I can start.
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, maybe I can start with an example that we are doing right now. We are Aks Creative Up, and we are coming from Turkey, Ankara, and this placemaking project that we are creating a prototyping, and we are trying to create a methodology about how can we do placemaking. So before we start, we actually ask a question to ourselves. Yes, place is not just one. There are a lot of places, and how we can design that spaces with a methodology which fits everywhere and every country and every city. And we answer this question, we cannot do that. So instead of designing the place, we thought designing the process. So we create a methodology which design the process of the placemaking. So we need this placemaking approach to make more inclusive, sustainable and beautiful cities. And we really need it in Turkey, in Sweden, in Malmö, in Ankara. And we thought if we are doing this, we should be inclusive, we should be sustainable, and we should be beautiful. We should design beautiful spaces. So how can we design it? We can collaborate with the people who live in there, because we can go everywhere and we can create that kind of process design, and we can be just the instructors of that process. We don't have to design every city is like a top-down approach. Instead of that, we thought we can create some kind of bottom-up approach, and you experience today. We just try to design that gamification methodology to answer some questions related with the participation, and also with the people, how they feel, how they think while they're living in their cities, because their ideas should shape the city they live. This is what we thought. So this is why we try to use that methodologies to live more inclusive and sustainable and also beautiful. So this is what we thought. And in the background of in Ankara, we don't have more public spaces, and we don't have that much open areas, and as a young designers, we cannot find a space to ourselves. So we want to find a place that we can express our ideas, and creatives like us can feel more free with that spaces. This project, the name of the project, Innovation in Placemaking, but also we have capacity building. We thought that approach also empower our communities, and also it can build and develop our capacity as a creative app. So it's a process that also placemaking, but also capacity building. And that capacity building with our creative apps, maybe we can also help people who want to create their ideas and shape the city. So they have some kind of mirror relationships, and we are trying to do that in our project.
Thank you. Okay, Jana, what's from like you work in Malmö. How is it doing participatory design in Malmö in public spaces, and why should we, especially in Malmö?
Yeah, I think because I agree with so much of the reasoning that you just said behind doing this, and it's the same in Malmö. It's you want people to be to feel like they have an influence in the spaces they live in. I also want to kind of struggle back a little bit to further back in your very long question, where you mentioned like why should we do it specifically in this time?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that like we're living in a time where people are extremely connected online, but have a hard time finding connection and finding spaces in the real world. And that makes it both really interesting to work with this kind of participatory design and urban design, but it also makes it a lot more challenging because we can garner a lot of attention and send out a lot of information online, but what I have found it really hard sometimes is actually getting people out and join the process and be there. And it's the people that come to workshops or come and join kind of our work when we work with participatory design are often the same groups of people. They're already people that are very into this and really want to build and to expand their city or neighborhoods. But there are so many groups that we're missing, that we're not getting. I mean, I have hosted a workshop once where no one showed up, and that's, I think, a huge challenge. And I don't think it's just in Malmö. I think you probably experience it as well. I think it happens all over the world. Now I feel like I'm just going on and on and on again. But to kind of keep it short, participatory design is something you need everywhere. Because today people are, like I said, they're very connected online, but not in the real world. People need this to feel like they can see themselves in the area they live in the real world, in their neighborhoods and in their cities.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna ask Jenny to add to that. Okay, since we're gonna go that way. Okay, so
No, but I can just reply.
Oh,
No, because I was biting
Yeah.
thinking, do I dare to say these things, or is that going to be a bit too mean and radical or whatever? I'm so happy you just threw it out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because I've also been organizing a lot of things for citizens and participatory workshops over the years. Then me myself, I really dislike being part of them. Like I really don't want to go. Like I rarely do. And it's such an interesting thing. Like, why do we do it? Is it even worth it? Is it useful? For whom? And then there's a lot of discussions then, like why should you get paid to come and do these things? Like, why are we asking people to come and do things for free to support us, or maybe another organization or a municipality for whom we're doing a tender? I mean, it's quite complex, the structures. So I think that's worth discussing. It's also, as you mentioned, always the same group of people, and you see them everywhere, and it's a specific person. I've worked with so many, which I also think is interesting to discuss. But then also back to the time right now, why still it might be important, I think is, if we only look at Europe, back in the 70s, we had a map of democracies that were like maybe half of Europe were democracies, the other half autocracies. Up until the early 2000s, that shifted. We were like almost the whole of Europe a big democracy. Now it's going back again. And I think that's why, at least to me, this is super important. Because participatory design or work can step out of political systems and be like a parallel pathway. But then we need to create them in a way that people show up or find them important.
How?
No, but I think sometimes maybe we're focusing on the wrong group. So if, a lot of these spaces are, okay, I'm going to generalize massively here, left-wing groups, which in my opinion, this is very personal again, which today, at least in Malmö, is a middle-class group of people. Whereas I think from the beginning, participatory design was for people that didn't really have any voice or agency, and even maybe today, if you start to look at who's poor, who feels left behind, who feel like they don't have a voice, maybe it's the far right. And we never design for them, we never include them, we never invite them. And I think maybe that shift, like why is this important? Who do we need to talk to? I don't know, it's just a thought I've had recently.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I love that you said that about democracy, because if I build on that, what I perceive is a lack of trust in democracy per se, with all the fake news and stuff, but also a lack of agency, meaning that people think that democracy is about voting, and that's something you do in Sweden like every 4 years, and it's all about the power shifts or not. And there's no feel of that you can make any other type of difference in everyday life. It's like it's the politicians or it's the companies that's going to fix all of this transformation. And I don't personally believe that, but people maybe don't feel that they have an agency. So I agree with you in that respect. But coming to the participatory design question, my background is more in product development, and I actually also, let's say, a basis in the Agile movement. And I'd like to propose an idea to you guys, and you may agree or you may slash it. Either way, sometimes I feel like participation is like with an end result of a design. I would actually like to propose that the process is the design. We need to stop thinking end results, and that we're always in ongoing motion of the process. And one concrete example of where I experienced this so much is that we developed a ticket app for Skånetrafiken, the public transport authority here, and you would have user groups in a laboratory and UX designers having the perfect placement of buttons and colors and whatever you do, and it works perfectly. And then you put that in the hand of somebody who's running to the train, the door is going to close in 20 seconds. It's not the same thing. So I mean, you need to get it out to the real situations where people are, and not sort of isolate it when you design it. And that's sort of why we're doing Edit as well. I think we don't have the answers, we don't know what to create, and for us it's more like it's not taking it out of its context, but actually being in the context of where it happens. And that's where I think solutions are going to come up, and we're going to do a lot of different things. We don't have one design, or we don't have one solution in that sense. So just one last example is that Kayana and me, we're creating a map of the residential neighborhood, and you could see that as a design, an end result. But I think that's going to be the meat of a conversation starter. Oh, what do we have in our community? What do we want to add? How do I want to participate in that? So I hope you see what I'm trying to do.
Yes, I have so many points to build in.
Oh.
Yeah, I can add, like, we have the online, because we live online, we have democracy. I can add also that we are living in a very also like tense time of segregation, and like people hating each other without reasons. So it's like also that also when you create spaces where people talk and discuss different things, and we have the common challenge of living here. So it's like, okay, then you're creating this space. So that's like another reason why you need it. Then I build on your ideas, and also like the idea of capacity building, or like why do we do it? If I'm hired by a company or a city to design something, then I go and my goal is to deliver the best service and product. And like the public space I will design, or the intervention I'll make, that it works. Like you need to design an app that actually works. It doesn't matter if you just design an app and nobody uses it. So if I want to do that, then I have to think that the people who live there, if I come from another neighborhood or another city and I'm going to do a design there, I don't know anything about that area. So I think you have this question later about like expertise, and then I think it's the people who live there are the experts, and then you need them. So it becomes this capacity building, like it's a double way, like, okay, I'm learning about the place, and I'm learning to make informed decisions that will help me deliver a better service. regardless if I am a non-profit or I am a company or whatever my personal motives are. So the goal is to create something that will work. So from that perspective, yes, it's working. Then it's a question of payment. That's very also important. And I have a huge experience in but I have lots of experience in like development sector and working in like refugee camps, like working in different places where people are marginalized communities, and when everything is about research and participation, and then there is like this research, people get this research fatigue that always have to fill these surveys and fill this, and then here is like ethical questions. Why am I asking these people who are, what am I gaining out of this? And then if it's very easy to make a decision when it's something profitable, then yes, people should get money. And then if it's something you have the budget to pay people, like, and not necessarily pay is always money, you know, like there are different ways, especially in the non-profit development sector, they have tried to, like maybe what's useful for people is phone cards to charge their phones with data or so. So that's like one example. And then you have more the community work that is it's a gray area, because we don't have the money to pay everyone, but we want people to do. And especially like if you're starting something grassroots, you want people to and that's where I think frustration is big, because we think, or like as someone who's trying to do something, we're doing this because we have the vision, we have this like idea, and we think that everyone cares, but not necessarily everyone cares all the time. And then that's also a role we play. How can it brings another aspect, which is organizing. Okay, how can I let people join my movement or be part of it? And that's also participation. And then looking at participation beyond just like a workshop, which is I think we are all, especially as designers, like we're so into the workshop process that, come, you do a workshop, then you go home, then what happens with the things we discussed in the workshop? Nobody knows. So seeing it, as I said, as a process, it's not only about the workshop, like organizing, making people join the movement, creating a map, using that map to create something else. Capacity building also, like I think there are very good examples of how like people who actually build things, how they, for example, you get contractors from the place, and that's very hard, especially if you are looking at municipalities, because they have their procurements, their tenders, their regulations. You can never get a small electrician from the neighborhood to do your work. You need like a big company that will cost thousands, like more, or like participatory maintenance. So after the project is done, who's gonna take care of the space? So there are like different phases that we can look at participation, and that while I love workshops, like we cannot limit our process in a workshop setting.
Oh no, I have so many questions. I really want to go into the far right. I'll contain myself for now. I will ask later.
Interesting perspective.
What did I want to ask? Yes, okay, so one thing for me is to go to this kind of, participation is not a one-time. I think, we might all agree, we might not, please, if you don't, please go ahead. But how things are to get funding and to support one's business, it's project-based. How do we, manage expectations? Because we ask for people's participations, which if we go back, maybe it's paid, usually it's not. We ask for something, we deliver something, and then it's done. How to go around that? How do we continue the process? I do agree, it's not about for me, participation is half, let's say, it's half project, half itself, the process. So how do we go around that? Is there any hacks that you have found? I'm really interested in hacking the system. Let me get it out of my system. So, get it out of my system. Anyways, so if you have any tips on how to, or what's your experience in that?
I don't have any tips, but I feel like because I'm working with this project, on this project with Martin as well, and we are very much in the middle of very soon having to deliver a result. This map that we're working on, this whole, and it has been a lot of workshops, and it has been a lot of, it has been a festival, and there's a festival coming up on the 24th as well at Ödet. But what we have decided as a group of people working at Ödet is that, yeah, we are delivering the people that have funded this whole project, we're delivering the map to them, or this result to them, but we're going to continue working on it. And exactly how that's going to look, I don't know if you guys have something up your sleeves that I haven't heard about, but what at least I have understood is that how we might make it look a little bit different, apply for funding somewhere else, but keep the project going, because the issue is when you have funding, people, the organizations, the companies, the municipality, whatever it is you're working with, they're always looking for the end result. And the end result just never really leads anywhere, like we've talked about now. And so you kind of have to, cheat the system a little bit. You have to take this project and say, okay, I'll call it something else, but it's technically still the same project, I just won't tell the municipality, or I won't tell the organization. To kind of, I think that's...
It's interesting with the idea of funding, like also, I totally agree with you, like also how you can do that, but just a reflection, like always also when you apply sometimes, the project cannot have started before. It cannot be something that started before the decision. Okay, like how do we create projects out of nowhere for very little amount as well, and then you want to continue, and they want you to be very credible in your work to be able to get that small money, but they don't want you to build on your work. So it's interesting, and I think for like a hack from my side is to scope the work. Is exactly what you said. Like, okay, there's a big dream, there is a big goal that yes, we all want to live happy and like sustainable and everything, but that's too far. And like think of, okay, as a person or as a group, or what is our position and what is our capacity and what is the resources we have, and where can we come closer to that dream. And then this is like, okay, so in order to, let's say in Helsingborg I work in a neighborhood called Söder, and then there's massive amounts of project initiative by the city, civil society, the companies, like there's lots of processes and like, you know, bureaucratic stuff, but also like local stuff. And then, okay, how can, and these all exist, and somehow they all lead to, they want to reach the same goal. And then I have to understand where is my project in the whole ecosystem, and what can I focus on. So, and especially this really changed my perspective of placemaking. Before I was working with it, let's say in Lebanon, it's a different context where our work was like campaigning to have a public space. While here you have a public space, but you want to make it safer, you want to make people use it better, you want to maintain it well. So it's like a different perspective. So then, okay, that's my scope. And then I have to focus on that scope of the park and to make people more engaged in the park, or create things that make people connected to the park. That eventually will lead to the goal that, okay, the park is safe. I cannot be the police still, for example. I cannot just, so safety also, like how do we look at safety and what is my scope within that? I can do an event. And then is the event the end goal? No, because I can see that the event is like part of the steps to reach that big goal. So I think scoping and being real with ourselves, because we are so, and here I'm talking from the people who are taking the initiative or like leading projects, we're so focused on our, we're passionate maybe sometimes about what we are working on, and we really want to see results, but I think the best thing about Sweden is taught me a lot of patience. Like things take so much time. Yeah.
Can I jump in, please? Yeah, I can't speak in general, but sort of from the perspective of Ödet, like you mentioned, Kayana, I think we're sort of trying to create a more continuous space where it's not like project space, it's like 10-year long project, what do I know, sort of in that sense that we can keep the momentum, start building the communication and the relationships, so we sort of have a community of people and not just an invited project team of a few participants, but actually continue that building on that process. And just to mention on your about these innovation agencies, like I've been a lot involved with Vinnova in Sweden, and it's like exactly like you say, they're so tedious and detailed about you should have these long applications and explain exactly what you're going to do and the results and blah blah blah, and you have all this application process that takes so much effort. But after that, when you've been granted, it's like they don't care anymore. They don't really care about the result. Yeah, you need to package it, but I'm sure they pretty much don't read it or look at it. So, I mean, it should be the other way around. You should have some process where it's easier to get the grants, but then they should continue on them and sort of build on the previous experiences, so you get that from them. So I think it's so wrong in that sense. But living labs, it's sort of like a little bit what we're trying to create, I think, something that sustains over time.
Can you explain what is a living lab?
I don't know if there's a general definition, but the way I'm thinking about it is that it's participatory, of course. You work with people living in the area. So right now we're doing that in Veabröd, it's a small village outside of Lund, and in this neighborhood, Sofielund in Malmö. Sort of working for many years to create that trust and sort of trying different things. That failed, okay, we try something else, and then you continue with that.
And I guess then the lab is for the experimentation part of the thing.
I'll just build on this because funding is so complex, and I agree with you. I've also written so many applications, but now my job, I mean, I've placed myself in there, so I'm working for EMTCC, which is like a European level of the network. So I'm like, how can I then shift systems from inside to make it easier? But then again, it's also public funding. I mean, we're all paying for this, so there is a good reason for why they need to be a bit extensive, because it's shared capital. So I can also understand the reasoning. But also about funding. So I had in Malmö, I had a little space, a little bit similar maybe to others, but in the city center a few years ago. And a little bit on the top, not the far right, but at least I was like, let's invite another group of people. So I made it look like a super minimalistic modern art gallery to just see who else wants to come in if it's not cozy with sort of us. And it was really, really interesting. But the best thing was I had no funding whatsoever. I managed to get this space for free, and I had a gap in between work, so I also put in a bit of money myself. But I had no furniture, I had nothing. I also had no plan at all. I just opened the doors, and I knew that I had 3 months. I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And I think that was such a nice way of doing it, because the first person who walked in is now a really good friend of mine, Iranian architect. And he was like, yeah, this is fantastic. I know no one in Malmö. How can I help? I'm like, fantastic. Okay, and then we just built. We kept adding people, and and it was anyone could come in and do things in this space. I'm like, this is for free. I have it in the middle of the city. Let's use it wisely. As long as you work with futures, which can kind of be whatever. And we had so much fun, and it was back to what you're saying. What's the result? What do we do? I had no plan of any kind of making of a report or showcasing someone that we made something. It was totally free, and then it closed. We got extensions, so it actually existed for 9 months, but now there are more of these places. So there's one in Mariestad. They were like, we loved this. This was fantastic. So we are now opening up. And my Iranian friend has also opened up a space in Iran. So it's, to me, that's also like a beautiful you know, way of seeing these things, inspiring each other, and then someone else can take over, and then I did my part for a while of handing over the responsibility to someone else to then do it for a while, and then maybe that's also a product or an outcome.
Yeah. What's the name of the space in Malmö?
Cool.
Okay,
I think it's called.
good to know.
Yeah.
Sharing tools here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll improvise a little bit, but what's your, coming from that, what's your most successful participatory urban project, and what is success in that?
I hope this one.
Okay.
Because at the end of the project, we are hoping to create a participatory design booklet, but it's not like a toolkit. It's kind of related to the previous question. It's not the final results, or we don't define what is placemaking and what's that and what's that. Instead of that, we thought sharing the experience of what people discuss in here, especially in this panel, we want to put some ideas, and also what we explore in Malmö and also Ankara as well. So we are hoping to sustain with this booklet after the project, because I kind of really hate the question in the funds, how you sustain that project, because it's so hard to answer because of the budget, and also they are waiting doing this project after the budget with all of your motivation and that kind of things, but always there are some problems to that, because it's so hard to sustain a project after you done this, because they are kind of waiting a final result. So it's the problematic relationship. So we are hoping this project will be the one of our greatest participatory design project. But before that, maybe I can say the project that it's funny, but I want to mention about that. In Izmir, in Türkiye, we made a project with more than 500 young designers, architects, and people background with that area, and students attend this event, and we work with the municipality. They were super interested, because they want to it was a holiday. We have an official holiday in Turkey, and it's called Youth Holiday, and we work with the young designers, and we choose 4 different regions in the city of Izmir, and we work directly with the municipality, and the mayor of a municipality attend these events, and we made a different placemaking approach in that project, and the students work in that case area, and they suggest some ideas, they talk with the people, we kind of analyze who are living that space, and we try to find the locals, we try to find the neighbors, and people coming the outside, and we try to create some kind of discussion environment, and we collect that information, and we demand. Demand was very important, especially for the young people in Turkey, because we have some issues with the democratic decision-making process, and demanding makes it more democratic, and young people demands a lot of things directly to the decision makers. So this project had to create that dialogue, because we don't have that kind of dialogues too much. So I think it was very successful, but there were different groups, and our group, we made it with Cemre, my colleague. It was very successful, and all of the suggestions, and most of them in the will be done in Izmir right now. But one group, it was very funny, but it was also very sad. They created some kind of participatory place in this one of the main square of the small municipality in Izmir, Foça, and the mayor of Foça, after the intervention and design, she actually changed that space the young designers made, and now she's using it as a very different place, and she thought this is not beautiful, we may need to do something like that. And it was super sad, but also it was super weird, because we talk with them, we tell this is what people want, but she changed it just what she wants, and she didn't even ask for us. Our pilot was great, and it was one of the greatest projects that we done so far, but we had that issue, so it shows us you can do a lot of things, but you have to connect with the decision makers and to demand your ideas. You have to be follow that demands after the project, after the everything, because the decision makers also changing, and we have to, if we want to more democratic spaces, we have to be an activist at the end of the day, because if we cannot create that kind of things, especially in Turkey, decision makers can do a lot of things just what they want, and this creates too many problems and too many issues. So I hope this project will be one of the greatest projects that we've done so far.
Can I?
Please.
Just because the activism. I did my master thesis on this about urban activism, and that how different urban initiatives takes place, and like what's the and especially like the context was Lebanon or Beirut, so it's like very like there's different challenges, and there's a lot of initiatives coming up, practices to tackle the urban issues, and then come up with like a different kind of approaches. So it's not, even though it's like the campaign, people who are campaigning or protesting or advocating for something, so that's like one way, and then you have people who are more want to build things and test and pilot and prototype, like whether it's just, oh, we want to build a bench to test how it will work, and then you have people working or knowledge dissemination, like okay, big part of people understanding. I think not everyone think of the city or where we live, regardless in every country, like as how much is it really important, and that we have the right to like the right to the city, that this is part of our right, and that we must care about it. We just think as the city as this kind of place where all the other services and resources and infrastructure that we need on a daily basis are. So it becomes the city. So it's like you need to raise awareness about these things, that a public space is important for you because 1, 2, 3, you need housing, and then go 1, 2, 3. So that's also one thing, and then then I struggled with this idea that when I was in architecture school, I started to engage in these questions as well, and then I thought like, oh, I'm becoming an activist. But then I was like, okay, I don't want to be a full-time activist. And then this is I think part of working as a designer, that you become this kind of person with like this facilitation skills that you can bring to processes and to people. It has this activism, how we define activism, but it's also like you're using your skills and knowledge for doing something that you consider will benefit public good. So it's like, and while you can not burn yourself doing activism with politicians who are mostly men and don't want to do anything. So.
Yes, since I don't have an architectural background, but more like product planning, I would say that the best participatory designs
hard
that
word.
it's really hard.
It's a hard life.
That I've been involved with are really agile. It's the projects where you develop something step by step, but in real life, sort of not in the laboratory, but really together with the people, and where the engagement is happening. Sort of like they realize, oh, this is going to mean something for me. It's going to create value in my life. And they start spending energy into it, and it sort of spreads. And sort of, I've seen that a couple of times with digital projects. So I'm sort of trying to look for the same kind of feeling in sort of physical spaces. And now we have Weberöd, which is a really small village outside of Lund, and then we have this city center area of Sofielund. I'm really curious about how do you connect with people and create that engagement. I think that's the key for me. How do you create that level of interest in what you're doing? I think it's going to be pretty different. In the village, it's sort of a village feeling, but in the big cities, like everybody's so anonymous and don't want to say hi to maybe tell people and so forth. So I don't know if it's going to be good, but I really hope it's going to make it good.
But it's also like in really bad examples, like you learn something.
Yeah, that's where I was looking for the bad ones. No one is giving me the bad ones.
No, I have a really,
Oh,
I have
please.
a perfect one. You know, I used to work for Darkman Labs, like systems thinking, design studio, super cool. Everyone
Dark
loves
Matter.
them. Yes,
Yeah.
and for a long time, like a year maybe, we had this project, super cool. I don't know if you've seen the mapping systems, and it's like architects doing super cool 3D stuff, and it's like, yes, people in the city should kind of have gardens, you know, alongside the sidewalks, kind of sold in the concept. And in my mind, I'm like, but is it going to work? So I managed to, I called Malmö, I live in the city center, I called Malmö municipality, I'm like, am I allowed to just like rent a car park outside my house? And they're like, probably not, but let me check. And then they did say, called me back like, actually, you might be able to. So I had a car park for 3 weeks, just outside my house. Fantastic. I called my neighbors, I'm like, where do you park? This is gonna be amazing. And they're like, maybe not, Jenny. But we did, we brought in some flowers, a pile of like, what do you call it, earth, jord, soil.
Sorry.
Looked amazing the first day. Then we kind of realized, like, we need to water this thing. My neighbor's like, we don't have time, we're gone. And I'm like, okay, I'll try. But running up and down with, like, we didn't have a hose, so like a little thing, a little water can thing. I realized I'm gonna have to run up and down like 50 times a day. This is not working. And then like week 2, it looked horrific. So it was so bad. And by the end of these 3 weeks, I had to kind of gather these in like big plastic bags and take it somewhere. But in my mind, I'm like, this is so interesting. And we sit with these cool projects, we sell them, we think we're amazing, we're going to change the system and the cities. But it doesn't really work in real life. So I think it's also really important to do these small tests with the ideas that we see.
Yeah. And that's the benefit of like doing placemaking as a process, because you're testing these ideas without like, and that's why cities now love it, because they don't have to invest millions in projects without testing them. So you test, oh, this actually worked, then we can put all the money in it, and I think that's beneficial as well. I think for us, we have a pop-up container in Helsingborg, and outside we try to put the boxes where you can plant, and even the container itself, and everyone was, I mean, it could be like prejudice or bias at the beginning. It's like, oh, we're scared, like it's gonna be vandalized sooner or later. And I think at the beginning we had someone just remove the tree. We had one big tree. They removed it from the pot and put it outside. They didn't take it, so I was like, okay. And then for 3 years, nothing happened to the whole space. And every summer we plant the boxes with the children, and then the children, they come and plant, and then we're like, okay, this is your plant, you have to come and water it. And they survive the summer, which is great. And then just recently, so that's like after 3 years, we have someone who just wrote on the container, like not even graffiti, like
A tag or something.
stuff, like I don't know the word in English. So and it's interesting that in 3 years you can see that okay, the people you are scared of vandalization, especially in this like kind of experimental things, and then you can really trust the people. And it's about, you mentioned this, like how do you did you say about like but to get people to know about your work, and it's about building trust. And in the workshop I was giving this example for like almost 9 months for the first year. We show up every Thursday with coffee and stand outside and just, we have no agenda, so we didn't want to like, because we also know we are not collecting this information that we are not able to do anything with. Like, why am I getting the city that will not listen to me, even though they hire me? So it's like, okay, let me just build trust with the people, and then people start to understand what is this place. And then, okay, next step. But taking that time and building trust instead of just first week asking people to give me their knowledge of the space, for example.
So buy them coffee and then. But people, when I was because I'm joking. When I was there at the Soderummet, people were like, "Is it coffee today?"
Yeah, we stopped this year because it became. That's a good example. I think because when we had children activity, the artist or the organizer is doing, then it becomes older men coming just for the sake of the coffee, and then it doesn't become, so it's like we have to balance, when are we giving coffee, and then it becomes like, this is where we get coffee for free. No, so it's like also a balance after, I mean, it's been for 3 years and we've given enough coffee for 2 years, so now we just took a break from the coffee in the summer. There is still like days where people get coffee there, with like, we have something called the Söder hosts, and they talk to people and give them coffee. And, but when we have activities for children, we stop giving coffee to create safe space.
Do you wanna?
I already was a bit blank when you wanted to ask me the question the first time, because I feel like it's a very hard question to answer. I think I kind of saw myself a bit in Martin's reply again. When you have some, like a good success story is when you are working with people and you really see this like light in their eyes where they're like, whoa, this is so cool, I love this, I never thought this was a reality. I think that's generally what I look for when I get to work with people, is that kind of light and that feeling of like, wow, I have this power, I can actually just do that, or whatever. But I also, then I started thinking about, specifically because you said container, I was like, I've also had a container somewhere. And in a sense, a success story, and in a sense not. One of these, again, these projects that led to nothing, really. And it was our first real big project. We got to decorate a container outside of Triangeln here in Malmö, so very, very central. Everyone getting in and out of the mall or off the train can see this container, and we wanted to really showcase people's, from Malmö, people's thoughts and their feelings and their stories relating to the city and to the area they worked in. And it was a super nice looking container. So everything on paper, it looked great. We had these amazing stories. We had all of these fun people. We had talked to random people on the street, and we got to tell their stories. And then it led to nowhere. We had the funding, we had the container, we had the perfect location. No one gave a fuck. Like, no one cared. No one, even if they could scan a little QR code and add their own story, they didn't care. Some people, of course, stopped and read the stories and whatever, but we never got any feedback. It never led to anything. It was kind of meaningless. And I don't really know where I want to go with that, but sometimes you can have the best intentions, and I cared about the people's stories in this project. I wanted to showcase people's relationship to the city, but the long-term result of that is non-existent.
Yeah, I want to add my little, well, I mean, for me, my best thing so far is I live in Segepark in Kysseberg, whoever knows the area, and I did my thesis there, and then it's a student housing, and when I have lived there for 3 years now, I'm moving, and it used to be a mental health institution area, it's a doctor house, it's a very long building with apartments from one side and apartments from the other side, and a long dark corridor in the middle. So you pass from each other and like people wouldn't say hi, which is so funny to me. Anyways, so MKB, which is the apartment, the housing is belong to, they have an app which has kind of a community, so funny, community feature where you can talk to your co-residents, but it's not friendly at all. So anyways, I started having a fika every month, and Ankara was funding it. And this is just for free. I mean, pro bono was not paid. It was just like I want to say hi to my neighbors. And then I created a chat. My most happy, well, at least I have felt most rewarding that people are, for example, selling their furniture in the chat or saying, hey, I have a package. Can someone please pick it up for me? Or I am locked outside. Can please someone open it to me? Because it's actually useful. And people don't want to have fika, and I had the fikas and then I quit because it was like 5 people were coming. Sorry. But anyways, okay, we're recording these 2 facts already, 3. Now it's time to have questions. If you have them, I have more, but please stop me. So, anyone want to ask anything to our nice people here? Oh wow, this went well.
Takes time. Yeah.
Trust time.
Yeah.
Please.
When you create your events, whatever they may be, do you first try to figure out what the crowd trying to make the event to want, so you can create something people really want to get to? How do you create the events that can make people come to them, that are relevant to them?
Actually, while we are creating this 2-day event, the first day is today, and we thought adding this workshop, walk it, order it, and dream it. We can explore different ideas of the people, and today we have a panel, and we thought we can have more focused and interested groups. And the second day, we thought we can do it at the garden, because originally we developed this methodology according to people's movement in the public space. For instance, walk it, have a walk it for people who don't have time just passing through the street and pinning their ideas very quickly. Dream it is more performative way, and people who have time and want to talk with someone, more performative way with the question cards, they can answer these questions. And also we have order it, it's more related with give your orders, and we can deliver it to the municipality or decision makers, and we can create some kind of demands according to that. So while we are creating this, also for this event, we thought for the second day, instead of focusing group, we will do it at the garden, who just pass through this way. And we also want what they told about this space, what is their expectations, and we can maybe find some locals also, but the trees because of the castle, because maybe we can ask their first impressions and they can told us different things. And while we are creating this 2-day event, we thought for the sustaining the project, maybe we can learn a lot of ideas and feedbacks to develop the project itself, because when we are developing the project, we because of the funding, we wrote a lot of things, a lot of activities, a lot of ideas, and we have a plan, of course, but we want to also develop according to your feedbacks and also these 2-day events results. We will do it similar thing to Ankara, and we really want to compare these 2 different ideas and approaches to the placemaking, and also people who experience these feelings in these 2 different cities and these 2 different backgrounds. We try to find a way to express these thoughts and ideas in the booklet, and in booklet we can find different approaches, different feelings, different ideas about the placemaking, and I don't know, it can look like a draft, but we don't say it should be a guideline, it should be a toolkit. It will just be a booklet that expresses the results of the project, and maybe it can inspire to the people, because for us it will be more valuable if people inspire, and like the example that you mentioned, if they do the similar things, if they want to think about the place that they live, or if they use the similar methodologies that we created, we want to share that, and we hope to apply bigger funds and bigger projects, collaborating with the people in there, or also other institutes. I don't know right now, but we are hoping to sustaining this project, because we don't want to deliver a final result as a concrete project or as a concrete design, but we just want to create something that help us to design these things, and we just want to design the process itself. So these 2-day events will help to develop the process.
I don't know if I can also, maybe I just want to talk about this a little bit as well, because also what you mentioned earlier, when getting people to show up for these events and for the workshops and whatever, you can always rely on the middle class, left wing people to show up. They're always going to be there, but the struggle is when inviting anyone else. And the workshop I mentioned earlier that I have done where no one showed up was specifically focused on teenagers and young people. They don't want to show up, they don't want to go out, they don't want to do this at all. So next month I'm working with a bunch of the big heads at the universities here in Skåne, and we are trying to get the teenagers to come out of their rooms and join the conversation. But we are thinking of all these things that maybe teenagers will find cool. I don't know if it's gonna work. So what we're doing very specifically is that we're just showing up where they already are.
Yes.
Yes.
And we know they are at the library in Rosengård, so we're gonna be there. And 'cause they're not reading, they're just hanging out. We're gonna be there, and we're gonna force them to be there. Sometimes you have to do that.
Tomorrow we will do the similar thing to the people who walk these streets, and we will just say, please join. Do you want to be design something innovative, collaborative, and inclusive? We will ask something like that.
Yeah, I
Can-
can.
They don't.
Just a quick add-in on that on the youth, because one of the most amazing experiences I had was we used to have these focus groups when I worked at Sony Ericsson. So we would bring in these youngsters to sit in talk groups, and they would all sit like this. It was so cringe in these modern words, sort of. But then we turned it around, and we were sort of at some events when we were sitting in the kitchen in Berlin with some group of friends in their own natural environment, sort of, and that was a completely different dynamic. So I think you're totally right.
I can also add, like, similar to this kind of work we do, is that at the beginning, we want to talk to the people, but it's also impossible in a way that, why should people care and like get engaged? And then the approach we take is that we work with the local associations and the föreningar. So they have they are the kind of the key people in the neighborhood or in the place that have access to the other people, because they also have the trust. And it's both a challenge and an opportunity, because there's also like this kind of the politics of föreningar, and like also competition or like prestige of like I am but then it's an opportunity. We try to work with that, and then a placemaking process is perfect that also we put these föreningar together to do things. So last year we tested something called the community lab, that was more also focused on organizational development for them, that will kind of, and it came out of this co-creation process with other projects that are working in the neighborhood. And then we saw, okay, we're all working with these associations. How can we create a process where we learn more about them, but then we can also not teach them, but like coach them into becoming more kind of independent or understanding how the city works, because we are kind of in this mediator role. Okay, if you want to work with the city, there is this kind of things to think about, how you communicate, blah, blah, blah. So it was more on this level. And then we noticed that nothing really activity-based came out of it. We tried. 2 out of 6 applied to do something in the summer. And then this year we changed it. We did a placemaking lab. So it was purely focused on, you go through the process to come up with an activity that you can offer to the community, not only your members, as part of the program, and then they get a micro grant to implement it in the summer. So in this way we have created our program. It's based on their needs, and they have also built this capacity to do that on their own and learn, like, so they get feedback and they get like a bit of micro grant to do things. And these are really small associations that have no interest in like institutionalizing their work. They just want to do good stuff. They are just community work. So that's our approach. And then it's same with the young people. We have been trying for 3 years. It's very hard. We collaborated last year, for example, with Frihuset. So we were able to get a group of girls and do a workshop with them. This year there was a new association working with young people, I think more boys, but working with like sports, and they did a program in the summer as well. And that is like the first time you can, also the boys is very hard to get them to do things like activities. And then the idea is that it's not, I don't own that process and I'm not the one who want to engage them, is how can I create this kind of system or framework where other people can be part of, and then create activities for other people, so it becomes...
I believe we're already over time, 8 minutes. Apologies for that. Yes, I see that. I'm struggling if it's okay to continue, if it's okay with you.
It's a short question, hopefully.
Yes.
We talk a lot.
If it's okay with everything, with everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, there's 1,000 thoughts, but the short question was because, and you come from an interdisciplinary kind of area, the rest are architects, and you come from the whole. Because there's one thing in getting people's opinions on products. Well, spaces and places are very different. So it's quite interesting if you already see some sort of difference in the results of if you place an app or you place something in real life in somebody's hand versus imagine this area, what would you put in this area, what do you need? It's quite different, and it's quite a different reaction from a person to get something like this, to get a blank space and kind of feel, yeah, what do we want, what do we need, what would we like to see? And I don't know if you've already seen that there's a big difference, or you can see similarities, or you pick up on similarities.
I think there's a difference, but I think the point is the same actually, because there's an issue which I experienced, that if you focus too much on the product, on the design, you miss the point. You need to see it in its environment. You need to see how, if you take that phone as an example, how they will interact with it in their natural groups, in where they hang out and so forth, right? because otherwise you will get comments about the colors or some parting lines or buttons or whatever, but it's really not important. It's in their real life, in the way they're living, that it means something. And I think that's the same point I'm trying to raise here as well. We can design the shit of everything, it's only going to mean something in context where people live. So I think, but imagination, that's another issue. How do you sort of inspire people to think different and bigger? That's something else.
But then just to jump, because then it's the same thing in getting, as maybe facilitators of placemaking activities, to not be the ones that drive everything, because it can probably feel quite forced, that you have the associations that you make space for others to drive the different activities, so that we observe, rather than actually maybe other people who are doing everything, because it maybe comes from the wrong. Like trying to plant something in the park, everybody has to be, but it has to be people who are engaged enough to want to run 50 times up and down the stairs. Otherwise, it's a doomed. Otherwise, you're taking on the responsibility of having something work and function. But the whole idea is to see how does the community, what do the people here want to kind of do with this.
But I also think we and cities, for example, need to be way more open to what we think is ugly. Or what we think is
and
not a good
be
design.
temporary.
Yeah, exactly. Because if we're inviting everyone to be part of things, we also need to accept things that maybe was not at all what we had in mind. But also I just want to add scale, because I think many of these projects are at a very local scale. Like if you work with a street or an area, for example, that for me is one type of participatory space. But if you would look at the city level, for example, in Malmö, you go, what are the problems in the city? I would argue, like inequality, for example, is one big problem in cities. Then the result or the outcomes, maybe that's also why I think we need to engage other groups. Maybe then to work with low-income areas is completely wrong, because they are just the result of a system that is wrong. Maybe we need to do this work, but with high-income areas, which is never happening. Like in Malmö, you never see Limhamn do a really interesting work on this, which maybe would support the city in really important
They tried,
ways.
I think.
Yeah,
Last
the
year
big
to
villas along the
They
beach.
did a project with Limhamn and Rosengård
Ah,
with architects.
And,
how did that
yeah.
Yeah, I don't
It was only Almond.
Yeah.
Limhamn.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But that no one lives there
Same
yet.
hub.
No, exactly.
And it wasn't even connected to the local communities.
Yeah.
It was very top down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they brought famous artists or architects.
Yeah, maybe the problem is that being architect is the problem.
Yes.
Well, that's the panel to confirm. Yeah.
Should we end there?
Thank you very much, everyone. We enjoyed this. I have many more questions. Thank you for listening and for participating the little much time that I left. But we're here, we're around if you want to continue discussions. And stay for the next of the program, which is the workshop.
We will continue the workshops after the panel discussions, and we really want to, maybe I can also mention to you, we made a workshop before the lunch and panel discussions, and for now it's the same format, but we really hope to see some ideas that inspire that discussions, and you can also put if you have any other ideas related with the panel or the questions and other things. We want to divide the workshops in 2 parts, and we hope these discussions will maybe inspire us, or maybe open some other questions and other ideas, and you can also mention to that in the wall kit and order it. In order it, we have empty orders, we have menus, but also we have empty orders, and you can write your ideas directly. Also in the wall kit, we have a map of this surroundings area. You can put your ideas with the post-its, and you can write related things with the panel. It don't have to be related with the panel, but if you have another ideas, you can also write them. also in this part, we are hoping to discuss together, maybe we can continue to discuss what you thought about this, and this panel is activate your thinking about the placemaking, because we want this panel also activate your ideas about the placemaking, and maybe being more active can help us to understand some problems, some potentials, and that kind of thing. So if you want to join the discussions, we can continue to talking in here, but also we can do it in workshops as well. So what you want, we can continue like that. And if you want to speak, and if you want to mention about your experience, you can also join the stage and you can share your ideas. It's we really hope to, in that part, we really hope to see a discussion with the workshops and also with the panel. So if you want, you can just tell us, so we can continue.
Let's
yeah, I think
wrap
this
up.
will be
Wrap
nice
up.
if we
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.